What is up, alphas? Welcome to our next alpha interview. Today we're joined with Lindsay from MOONGEEK Candle Co. Lindsay, I normally start these interviews by saying, like, what do you sell? But I think that would be kind of redundant.
Maybe just this time.
Well, let's talk about the type of candles that you sell then, because you're in a very great niche. I know that because I'm kind of trying to wiggle my way as an upcoming author. And I know how big the bookish community is and how crazy they can be and how much they also love candles that help to set the atmosphere.
Yes, and they are just awesome. Like I started with the book publishing and initially started thinking it was going to be more of like a hobby project. I was just going to like sell a few candles here and there to pay for book covers because good art is expensive. But I met so many like other people that loved the same kind of books that we do and that like have read all the things I've read. And so I ended up making a bunch of customer friends, and like I definitely spend way more time on MOONGEEK now than like I ever
That's awesome. Yeah, and it's a raving community. Like I wasn't anticipating until I started getting into like the book talk books, because there's always, I mean, you know, everybody reads. Well, I don't want to say everybody reads, but everybody.
A lot of people read.
A lot of people read, and you go to the bookstore and you don't know what to get, and there are a million options. But it's like the book talk community and the Bookstagram community. They've got like their own reading list that somehow goes viral. And it's like all I had to do was read A Court of Thorns and Roses, and it was like I was in that community. And then I made him read all those books as well. But what I love about your shop in particular is that you aren't jumping into like all these crazy licensed products where you have that potential to like get taken down. And I think that a lot of people in the bookish community, they're like, oh, if I don't make Harry Potter products, nobody's going to buy my stuff. And that's not true.
Doing the market research, a lot of the shops we came across, whether they were t-shirts or like mugs or candles or like bookish products in general. And we were like, oh, these are all like copyright licensed. Like, is this a thing that we can do without, you know, eventually getting in trouble and not having a business anymore? So it took us a while to do the research on which characters are in the public domain now because it was published long enough ago, and making sure that Disney or some other company hasn't since acquired it, and figuring out our lineup, because that was one thing we wanted to be really careful on, because J.K. Rowling does not play.
No, and Warner Brothers doesn't play either.
Mm-mm.
No.
Yeah, that's so great, though. I will say that I know that a lot of people, they see online and they'll look up, we'll say Harry Potter, for example, and they'll see all those products and they'll be like, oh, they haven't been caught, then I won't get caught. And it's like, why would you build a business like that where you never know? It's like, unless you really like living on the edge, like
Right.
there are authors. I mean, Sarah J. Maas is one of my favorite authors, and she is, from what I understand, she's relatively easy to get a license through. And I'm sure that there are other authors that are like willing to. But what I like about your shop in particular is that there's an overarching theme that can be applied no matter what they're reading. So if you're reading, I'm trying to think of a specific candle that could hit, like, because I just eyeballed your shop again, but you can choose a candle that can fit like several books on your shelf, or at least a scene in those books on your shelf, and not just be strict. And it almost opens the horizons even more.
That's what we found, is that, like, if we make a character candle, like we did do Sherlock for January's Candle of the Month, and that appeals a lot to the fans of Sherlock, almost exclusively them. There's not a whole lot of anybody else that's like, well, I don't like detective mysteries, but I'm going to buy this anyway. But then we have like Epic Adventure Quest, which is actually part of our gamer line, because we realized we had a whole lot of like video gamers and readers in the same place. So we said, okay, we love the overlap. We could do something with that. And we've noticed that one in particular, it works for a lot of our male customers, a lot of our female customers, the gamers, the readers. Like we thought it was going to be exclusive to the video game collection, and instead it's like quickly become one of our best sellers. So that's been really fun.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's cool too. It's probably really good for like tabletop gamers and stuff as well. And he's, I mean, obviously he's in that industry. He's in the gaming side where he's always, when he's gaming, he has always got like a candle next to him. And I'm the same way when I'm reading. I always have a candle next to me. What you're doing is you're contributing to the atmosphere and the immersion of something that is so much bigger than just, oh, I sell things for people who read books. Like,
right. There's more of a story behind it than that.
Absolutely. So I can't remember. I feel like you've been in HAA for a while.
I actually joined back in December, but I have been lurking around the community and everything else since like 6 months before I got started back in 2020. So I've been around for a while.
You've made decent sales. I didn't realize that you were so new. You've made very good sales in that very short period of time, especially since I know a lot of people, they freak out about like selling candles in particular because they're so heavy. And they're like, oh.
Shipping is fun, but
yeah, like I can imagine.
Easily the hardest part to figure out because most of our customers are actually on the other side of the country from us. So yeah, I don't know how that happened, but like most of our customers are on the other side. And so figuring out the best way, not just to ship it cheap on our end, but also in a way that is fun for them and protects the candle. It did take us a few like trial mailings to people close to us. We could go, okay, did it melt in your mailbox? Like, did the break? Is everything okay? And to date, fortunately, we've actually only had one break, and we're able to get the cute little like packaging on all of it with the like gift tissue and the stickers. And so we really like to give them the feeling of like, yeah, you bought this probably for you, but it's like self-care. It's a present. So you should get to like open a present and feel all happy and special for a minute. And making that work with it is glass and we don't want this to break took a while, but like now that we've got it, we are super happy with how smooth that process is.
That's awesome. You know, we hear a lot of people who say things like, oh, why would I spend money or waste money on all this crazy packaging because the customer's just going to throw it away. And, you know, if you order, for example, not Printful, what's a Printify? Printify does like print on demand, like you get like 3 scent selections and you can do like some candles with them. And I've ordered like their samples of how they ship them, and you get it like in a box that it's just, there's no fun.
It's not a fun experience.
No, you don't get any fun. When you order Bath and Body Works candles, you don't get any fun. There's no fun. It's in a box.
I mean, making that extra 50 cents off of a sale versus almost guaranteeing that you're not going to, at least not going to get a bad review. Like the chances of you getting a good review are much higher.
Do you feel like you get like a lot of repeat customers because you're providing that service?
A lot of our reviews have specifically mentioned how much they love the stickers and the gift, and then the little like handwritten thank you notes that we put in there. And I mean, we do, because of the materials we use and the fact that we try to only use like organic and like environmentally clean products, our candles do cost more than it would cost to go to like Walmart and pick one up for $3.33. But
yeah,
is always on center, like it's entirely sustainably made. And then we add in the packaging experience on top of that, so that they get that moment of like, oh, how nice. And like several of them have showed me pictures of like they save their stickers and just like cut it from around the tissue so they can preserve it. And I think that's so cool. So we thought we were only going to do it for the holiday season, but when we saw how much like our customers really loved it, we were like, okay, we will never get rid of this now. Like it does not hurt us at all to pay a little extra on packaging because they come back so happy.
Yeah, you're building those interactions that allow people to become more than just a customer, but a super fan. Like you're building more than just, oh, well, here's your candle. You're saying, well, here's your candle, here's your experience, here's your way to interact with us, here's us, and we're now a thing together. So
yeah, it's you're obviously selling a product that creates an atmosphere, an environment. It's very
an aesthetic.
Yeah, it's very sensory oriented. And I think the fact that they start experiencing that from the moment that they begin opening it, that's something really special that a lot of brands, they think that the product is the thing, when in reality, the thing can also be the experience. And then you don't just have one thing, you have two things that make your brand great.
Right.
So obviously there's a lot of challenges with shipping a product that is fragile, heavy, can melt. I'm trying to think of all the things that can go wrong with a candle.
No, so many things.
Do you ship internationally too, or are you just?
We do.
Okay. So what might you share with somebody who, maybe they're interested in selling candles or another just heavy, fragile item, and they're afraid because they don't think that people will pay that shipping price to receive those items? Because I hear that a lot.
Actually, that was one of our concerns too when we first got started, because COVID had just, the pandemic was just getting bad when we opened. Yeah. And shipping was slowly going up and up as it was. And it hasn't come down at all since then. So even back in 2020, we were like, well, is anybody going to pay $15 for the candle and then $13 to ship it to California? And we at first tried to offer strictly free shipping to see if that would really make a difference, but that hurt our profit margins a lot. So eventually we went with the Etsy option of the free over 35. And we said, okay, this might, and it's actually been the best compromise we could find, because a lot of people love free shipping. Amazon has ruined all of us. And if there's an option, they will add more things to their cart than they came for to qualify. I see it all the time. We have one collection where it's entirely limited edition, and we'll only make 2 or 3 of each fragrance. So they sell really fast. And I have several customers who will add random sample tins or wax melts or just little extras just to move them to that 35 so that they can get the free shipping at that point. So they don't love to pay for shipping. And if you can find a way to build it into your product cost, I totally would. Which is what we've done, is we sort of also added it into the product cost to make up for the free over. So if you can do it that way, that's how we've had the best results. But we have plenty of other people through our normal website that one is free shipping over 50 or 100. I think it's 50. And they will just go ahead and pay the standard shipping rate. And so if it's cute enough and they like it enough, they will pay the shipping.
Yeah. And that's what I always tell everybody. I'm like, here's the thing. The people who complain about your shipping prices, they're not your target audience. They're expecting, they want Amazon quality, or Amazon speed and Amazon prices. And that's just not what Etsy is. It's almost like you have to champion for what Etsy is and keep that integrity for your brand, because the right people will find you, and they will pay for whatever shipping price it is if they want the item bad enough. And thankfully, we just talked to our last interviewee. She also joined right at the pandemic spike. Candles were one of the most searched items during the pandemic, because I think people were home and, they were finding ways to...
Their husbands were home and their houses stunk.
Their houses smelled like dirty feet. No, but people really, they wanted to, and that's why the book talk community blew up around that time as well. People were trying to find things to do at home. And I think that candles just were part of that.
Working at home and just trying to make the aesthetic of having to be at home comfortable.
Yeah. Do you feel like... I was just going to say, do you feel like that had a contribution to that nice big ramp up of sales starting?
Yeah, I think that definitely helped, because it did not take us long at all to get our first sale. And it wasn't my sister or somebody that I was like, hey, do me a favor. And I think a lot of it probably was that it was still March-ish when the pandemic hit. So we were all stuck at home, and it was still kind of chilly, and we wanted to be cozy and, you know, comfy in our space, especially since you're not going anywhere for a minute. So you might as well. And with Book Talk and Bookstagram in particular, a lot of people like to go outside to film their content, but that wasn't happening as much right then. So candles and books look really nice together. And I think that also really helped, was going, isn't this pretty? You could do this.
Yeah, all those really like great aesthetic like TikToks and reels where they've got this flat lay with the greenery and like some eucalyptus and they've got their candle going. I don't. Are you on social? Have you like jumped into those industries on social?
Our primary social network is probably Instagram. That's where we've most engaged community. We have a TikTok and it has our largest following, but we don't really make business content there. We have an astrology collection. So we have found that jumping into astrology talk and just making silly, funny fun of your zodiac sign, like we're going to bully you for having a birthday. People will laugh and then they'll go, oh, but there's candles for that. Let's go, check that out. So that one's been much more like subtle marketing on our part, because we don't want people to go, oh, an ad, and like just scroll right past the video. Instagram has done really well for us though, because the pictures of like the books and the candles and things together, it kind of fits in naturally with people's feeds if they're on the Bookstagram community in particular. And they'll go, that candle's cute. This shop sells that candle. And then they end up at our Etsy store.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just, I always see people who say like, oh, I'm afraid to niche down. Like I make products for everybody. Candles are for everybody. Do you think you'd be as successful if you would have just been like, no, I'm just going to make candles for everybody?
No, at all. Candles are for everybody, but like scent is something that's really subjective, number one, but also aesthetic. And when you're shopping for a candle, a lot of people are shopping not just based on the fragrance notes, but also, will this look good in my home? Like, is this going to match my personal aesthetic, my decor, or whatever I want this candle for? So if we had just gone, well, here's a whole bunch of like plain white candles, and this is, ocean beach and lemon and lavender, and had like all the same scents and the same labels and the same everything as everybody else, I think that would have actually really hurt us. Like, I think niching down as small as we did, we were nervous about it at first because we were like, do enough people read books? They do. They totally do. Because of that, like it's actually been phenomenal. I don't think it would have gone anywhere near as well if we had tried to be a more general sort of offering, because there's too many people already doing that. You could just go to Walmart or Yankee Candle or Target if you're kind of just looking for a basic candle for your bathroom. Or
and it allows also for some scent exploration as well, because people like, if I go to Walmart and I'm going to buy like a cheap candle, I'm like, okay, I like the cupcake one. I like the cookie one. I like and I know what those scents are, and it's very predictable. But when you go into a themed candle shop like Bookish Candles, you're like, oh, what does this Edgar Allan Poe themed candle smell like? And you don't know. Like you have your scent notes listed. I don't know what half of those things smell like, especially not together. So it's almost like you get to be a bit of a scientist in your exploration, and you're like looking and you're like, wow, what do you think it's going to smell like? And then it's a surprise because you're not able to sniff things through a screen yet.
Hopefully forever.
You don't want smell-o-vision? No,
because there are more bad smells on TV than there are good, for sure.
Okay. I can agree with that. So as we're nearing the end of the interview, this one blew by too. These are going so fast today. Yeah. 20 minutes flies by. We have asked everybody what they would tell somebody who's interested in joining HAA, but maybe they're nervous, they're afraid to start, they're afraid of the time it's going to take, they're afraid of, it's a big investment. From your experiences personally going through the program, what would you tell somebody who, maybe they message you and they say, hey, I heard about this thing. Should I do it?
I can relate to being nervous because that's why I was lurking in the free community so long. Is I do have twin daughters and I do have like my writing business over here and MOONGEEK and like so tons of stuff going on. And I was like, oh goodness, like can I afford this? Will I actually have the time with everything else going on in my life? Like, is this really a good? And I asked like several people before I did it. I was like, do you think this is a bad idea? Is this a bad idea? It definitely, the second I joined the Facebook group that comes along with it, like everybody in there is so friendly and so helpful and like so quick to answer questions too. It's not like you're sitting there for 8 hours, like hoping somebody's going to see your question and respond. Like somebody almost always gets it like really fast. And our shop went from a sale or two every few weeks to sometimes we have a hard time keeping up with it. Like I keep saying, oh, it's about to be our slow season. We haven't had one this year. There has been no slow season since joining. So I think as long as you really want it to be a business and not a hobby, HAA is actually a really great investment. Like it's already more than paid for itself since we joined in December, and I'm not even finished working through all the modules yet.
That's awesome. And that is literally, we have had, I think one person so far that we've interviewed out of all the interviews that we've done has said that they finished it. Everybody else is like, oh, I hit this point and I got too busy. Which that's great. Like, I think that is a good example of, the longevity of the foundation that you build, because you know that I have my hands in so many different like baskets. I've got my book that I wrote. I work with eRank and the foundation that I teach in HAA, it's the same foundation that I use for business in general, because the psychology behind business doesn't change. It's the science of how human interactions work and the psychology of marketing that really impact brands for the long term. And those can be applied to everything business related. So
my author friends that they might want to consider HAA, because I was like, you market a book the exact same way that you do. Like this could be really helpful. So
yeah. And my book, it was the same way. Like I did the launch, like the countdown, to the launch. I did teasers with little excerpts from my book. And it was very similar. In launch day, it was like the same thing, same anxiety that you get on launch day, same celebration, still, doing giveaways and things to build your audience. It's the same process. It doesn't matter what you do. You could be a restaurant and apply the same things. So, yeah. So, now that we're at the end, did you have anything like last minute that you want to share? Any words of motivation, inspiration to those who are scared of starting an Etsy journey or putting themselves out there to sell online?
The first step is the hardest. It's always harder to start something new than it is to find the momentum to keep growing and scaling and building it. So take that leap of faith.
Awesome. That is great advice. It's our rolling the snowball analogy where yes, you have to put so much energy into pushing that snowball up the mountain. But once you get to the very top, it's like the pressure lifts and then it starts rolling down the other side on its own and you can just run after it. So it makes things way easier. But thank you so much for this awesome interview, guys. All of the MOONGEEK Candle Company Candle Co. links will be down below in the description, and we'll see you in the next alpha interview.